Hey, it's Patrick from after this whole video is actually recorded. Front loading something that I actually wanted to put in the video that I forgot to, and it's to let you know that I am most likely going to start streaming on Twitch once a week on Wednesdays at twitch.tv/XX insert coin XX. Insert coin is taken. I'm mostly probably just going to be streaming games and hanging out on Wednesday nights. Keeping to that schedule is not going to be as important to me as keeping a YouTube upload schedule, but I have been itching to just go live and play some games and hang out with people. So if you want to set your calendars, go follow, turn on notifications. Again, it is twitch.tv/XX insert coin XX. And thank you for listening. And here's the video. What's up, guys? This is probably going to be a shorter video this week because your boy has COVID. If you follow me on Instagram at InsertCoin, you guys know that I missed my 2-week deadline to post a YouTube video last Friday because I was actually attending EVO in Las Vegas this past weekend, which is where I got COVID. And for those of you who don't know, EVO is a game event that features all, if not most, of the popular fighting games that are currently available on the market and or just are deep-rooted in the fighting game community. I had an absolute blast, and I actually came out of it with a lot of thoughts about fighting games and esports and just games in general. And if you know anything about me, you know that I work in video game marketing and development, and I worked for a couple years in esports on Team Liquid and 100 Thieves for a short time each. I'm intentionally not going to make this video too inside baseball with gaming and esports because I do like to talk about this stuff in ways that people outside the industry can understand, and because I actually don't consider myself an expert on this topic, but more so wanted to share some things that I am coming out of the event with and just stuff that I want to talk about in general. Just fair warning in advance, someone already joked that I've gone to EVO once and I've already proceeded to make it my whole personality, and the further I get into this video, the more I think I'm going to prove that person right. So apologies in advance, and touche. Probably the biggest takeaway from being at EVO is I got to see Riot Games' new game called 2XKO. Now, if you're not familiar, Riot Games is a company that has created some of the largest and most popular game titles in the world, including League of Legends and Valorant are probably their two most popular titles that are also competitive esports as well. 2XKO is going to be their sort of foray into the fighting game community with their 2D fighter that I think is supposed to be released sometime in 2025. It will likely be free to play like all of their titles are, and people are paying attention to it because it is a competitive game from a company that has had their rise and their success in competitive games. While there already exists an entire community that hosts and attends competitions centered around fighting games, and there are fighting games that are created with the intent of being competed with, it has arguably never been made quite to this scale outside of, say, Street Fighter, which is one of, if not the longest running fighting game franchises of all time, and you might have to fact check me on that. But anyway, I got to see and play 2XKO, and it was a blast, and it got me very, very excited for the level of eyes and attention that will probably be on this game, and also the level of accessibility that it will have, granted that it will likely be free. But one of the reasons I'm most excited to follow 2XKO is because I do think it has the makings to be one of the best esports in the world. And I guess in order to convey that, I have to answer the question, what makes a good esport, or what makes a good competitive video game? And I narrowed it down to what I think are the three most important pillars of that, and that is accessibility, watchability, and fun. So the game has to be accessible to everyone. Most of the most popular esports titles in the world are all games that are completely free. The comparison I like to make with people is that soccer is the most popular sport in the world, and I do think a major contributor to that fact is that soccer costs a ball to play. and you can pretty much play soccer if you have a ball. And I do think that level of accessibility and watchability and ease of understanding, at least from a sort of barrier to entry standpoint, is a big part of why soccer is the most popular sport in the world. And like I said, those same factors can be applied to the most popular esports in the world. So accessibility, the ability to play it and play it easily. Watchability, the ability to watch it and understand what's going on, which I actually think a lot of esports struggle in this aspect, and that it's fun. So obviously that it's fun to play for people, although I think a lot of people would argue that some of the most popular esports games in the world are not fun. They are a grind, but it's important that they have to be fun enough for people to want to play them and want to compete and dedicate their lives to them. And when it comes to those three pillars of what make a good competitive game, I do think fighting games are arguably the purest form of esport. And the reason I say that is in regards to those three pillars, the accessibility is generally there. Most people can pick up a controller and just understand that you hit the buttons, you're hitting the other player, and you're trying to deplete their life bar, or you're trying to knock them off of the platform. I think that same level of simplicity or perceived simplicity adds to its watchability factor, and that I can describe what is going on a screen for a fighting game for someone who has never seen it before, and they can immediately have a certain level of understanding. I think that this is unfortunately what so many esports lack, is that people at a glance have no idea what's going on. And even if it's explained to them what's going on, they arguably can't wrap their mind around the ins and outs of the game and the meta and the intricacies of how the game is played if they haven't played it themselves. And I do think that at a glance, even if you haven't played particular fighting games, you can look at a screen and understand what's going on and understand when things are close and understand when things are arguably impressive and enjoy yourself, and ideally be hooked from there as something that you would enjoy watching further or even playing yourself. Now, a couple problems that present themselves that I do think are a problem across all of esports is ownership of the game. Whenever a game is created, that company owns the rights to that game. It's not like the NFL owns the rights to the game of football, for instance. I can host a football tournament and not have to worry about the NFL knocking on my door and wanting their cut. Unfortunately, there are a lot of games companies who they own their game and they do not allow for people to use their game in a competitive nature because they own the IP, and that allows them to dictate the rules in which it is used in a commercial fashion, if there's any money being made or sponsorships or prize money being handed out. Now, I don't think that just because Riot is developing a fighting game that all of a sudden there's going to be a lot more laxed ideas around their IP. However, I do think it is a very good start for a fighting game to, one, have that large-scale accessibility, and two, be created by a company that has primarily created their products with competition in mind. So, needless to say, I'm very excited about the future of 2XKO, and it was just extremely fun to be immersed in this large-scale event of people who are watching fighting games live here in the US and just all the community that was around it. I picked up this custom controller that a lot of people play with. For anyone who doesn't understand what they're even looking at, this is called a hitbox. Most people who probably think of how you might play a fighting game traditionally is with a controller, where you're obviously moving with the arrow keys and then using these buttons around here to hit your opponent or create a series of combos. Another way that people play it is obviously with the traditional joystick and buttons that you would see on traditional arcade cabinets, such as like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and others. And what this basically is emulating these same buttons or layout that you might see on a traditional arcade cabinet, but instead of a joystick or the arrow keys, these buttons act as left, down, right, and up inputs. So basically, you would move your character back and forth with these buttons, duck or jump with those, and then do any combination of the buttons, obviously with two hands, to do your moves. And a lot of people were playing with this. I thought this was very cool at a stand that you could customize one and take it home. And I picked it up and I've been playing with it and I've been having a really good time. But like I said, this is going to be a short video. Despite me mustering up the energy to talk to the camera for a little bit, I am actually exhausted and feel pretty terrible. So I'm going to be happy to have recorded this and edit this and get it up for you guys. I mostly just wanted to show off my new toy and talk about how cool I think fighting games are and how excited I am for the future and their competitive viability as esports in North America. And with that, I will see you guys next time.